My thing. Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're here in the wonderful USA. If you're in the Pacific Rim, it is already Saturday morning, Super Saturday for you. I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, or Mr. Simpler, Faster, Better. And I am featuring 𝒓𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒚 today. 𝒓𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒚 are a company that are helping to reduce methane gas from food waste in the landfills where we put all our food waste. So if you want to find out more about 𝒓𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒚 and the small machines they have to chew up our food waste and turn it into water and non-methane gas byproducts, then hit me up on DM, or you can go to 𝒓𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒚 and we can go from there. So hello, Dr. Alice. We were chit-chatting in the green room. This is our, second live and third or fourth Zoom time, right?
Yes, Bruce, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure. We got our almost matching blue shirts on. We're ready. We don't even have to plan it. It just happens.
I know. Well, you love to lead in that lovely blue color. So, it's, and it's also fascinating that from a timing point of view, the last time I had you on live, you just come back from the backcountry, and guess what? You've just been on, right?
Yeah, I've been out. This time I was out longer, which was really wonderful. I'm watching myself wanting to just do longer and longer trips. So I was just out for 10 days. This time I did have a friend with me. Last time I was solo. But it was beautiful. I was in the high Sierra, and that's one of my favorite places to spend time. So it was a wonderful time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hi, Randall Mills saying hi from 24hourphysicians.com. So I don't know if you know each other from a past life, or, Randall?
I don't know Randall. Hi, Randall. Thanks for hopping on, though.
Yeah. So Randall's based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth market. And actually, Randall and I and 𝒑𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒚, we go way, way back. I met Randall briefly, but I've met 𝒑𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒚 several times. And I met Lee. We figured it out the other day. I had a call with him one night, and we actually figured out we met in 2010. So we're like on our 11-year birthday for knowing each other. So time flies.
It does fly. And it's always nice to reflect back on friendships like that and really see the longevity that you have with certain people. It's special.
Yeah. Well, it's not only the friendship, but it's I've always had a collaborative, semi-professional working relationship with Lee. And it's funny, we've come a long way. We reflect back on, what we first started doing, and now looking at what he's doing with his apricot rocket platform and some of the stuff that I'm able to do. It's like two vintage guys, dabbling in the technology market. It's pretty fascinating.
Did either of you predict that you would be anywhere close to where you are now 11 years ago? How far close to the mark were you?
Well, no way. I mean, I'm a technophobic, I'm not really a techie at all.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, well, we're in the same boat. And hey, some super fans of yours, Gracie and Enrique, have hopped on, so thanks. I know they're both super fans because they always comment on your posts and everything. So we're in good company today.
Definitely. I was live with Enrique a few weeks ago, and it was so much fun. It was lovely to get to know him better too. So thanks for being on.
Enrique's a wonderful man and dad and hubby, and also wonderful leader. So I love learning from Enrique, and some of the stuff he's been doing is amazing because we became LinkedIn connections early on when we were both, restarting out with relaunching what we were doing. So it's amazing to see how far Enrique's come. He's matured so much in his business life. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great to see, especially for someone who's such a good person.
Yeah. Hey, should always happen to the good people, right?
It'd be nice if it worked that way.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I know there's still some bad apples around,
Yeah.
I know it just drives me nuts. All these bad apples that put all this creative energy into trying to dupe you out of money, time, or resources. If they just channel all that creativity into doing something good, that we would be way better off as a nation. So
it's true.
Yeah. All right. So lessons learned from your backpacking this time. How about that? Let's go right to the core of
Sure, I'll see if I have something wise to say. It's funny because whenever I go out there, I kind of used to think like, okay, I'm going to be inspired, something in particular, I'm going to figure something out, or something's, going to happen that's really going to change everything. And this time I really went out with like, I think I'm just going to enjoy my time out here and not expect to have any big, like, business insights, or I always think, I'm going to get that lightning bolt of something. And it was really nice actually and I do have something to share, but it was nice to turn that like off really and to just be in the trip just for the sake of the trip, and not about like, well, I'm doing this because I need to, do X, Y, or Z in my normal life, but to really just put that aside and say, I'm going to focus on, where's the flat spots at camp, and where's my water, and is my, gut hook app working, and am I reading my maps right, and all of those things. But the one thing that really did stick with me, and I posted about this on LinkedIn, I think right after I got back, was this idea of simplicity, which is so simple to say, but really because out there you're just not inundated with as much. And for me, that's wonderful. I don't like being constantly inundated. I'm a slow mover internally. Like my system is slow. I think that's why I love going out there, because it just, the nature is pretty slow too. And so I asked myself, what can I do to just create a little bit more simplicity in my life? And kind of the night after I got back, I unsubscribed from like 20 email lists I was on. Even if it was people that I liked or I wanted to hear their stuff, I know where I can go and find these people. I just don't need to be inundated in my inbox every morning with all of these things. So that's been feeling really good. That, and then I did a bit of purging, just with clothes and books and things that I'm not using. And it was really easy to do. It just felt good to kind of, get rid of stuff and toss it out. And I try to remind myself that of, how can I continue to live just more simply with less inundations and less, ADD type brain.
Right. So we were talking in the StreamYard green room, and that I've been through so it sounds to me like you went through a personal process cleanup, which is what I love to do. And I had a kind of semi-enforced process cleanup, as I was sharing. So I went from 1380 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house in 10 days down to a CX-5 vehicle full of stuff, and my big stuff's in storage. So talk about a process cleanup and a simplification. And now I'm in a little Airbnb of probably 400 square feet, something like that. And
how does it feel for you? Do you like miss the stuff? Is there some comfort in having less?
No, I don't. I'm always been a minimalist, and actually my brain works better when I don't have as many distractions and external stimuli around me. And it's funny because even though you were backpacking and out in nature, I spent 2 days to drive to Tempe, Arizona, Mesa area. And those 2 days in the car, even though I had a lot of stuff around me, the front seat of my vehicle, it gave me that like refreshing opportunity just to be in the moment and present. And it's funny because I noticed a lot more nature, and I notice a lot more things that I'd normally take for granted. And so I think when you do declutter your mind, you can actually be more present when you are present on whatever it is you're doing. So for me, it was like high stress, but in a way it was like decoupling from all that complexity is super cool. So
it is. And I love what you said about the drive too, because I think on those long drives, it's almost a similar thing, even though we're behind the wheel, but we have to focus. We have to be in that present moment. Did you listen to a book on your drive?
Actually, I had a lot of screen time with my phone because.
Is that safe while you're driving?
Hands-free. I was a good boy. I didn't hold it or anything. I can prop it on. I know you're not supposed to do that in California, so hopefully there's nobody in the police force watching this and come and get me. But no, so I have a way of propping my phone, on the steering wheel, and a lot of it I was kind of on cruise control, other than when I hit, Palm Desert and Palm Springs. That was insanely busy. I was surprised how busy the highway was, but yeah, you're right. And you kind of get in your own bubble. So I did a lot of catch up time with people on the phone. And actually, for some people, I did the call and said, "Hey, I'm moving."
Yeah, here's what's happening. Surprise.
Here's what's happening. Yeah, surprise. Yeah. So that was also kind of therapeutic, to be real selfish, because I needed, I was so frantic trying to pull all the action items together to pull off being able to move out of the house and put my stuff in storage and make all that happen in 9 days. It was pretty frantic, and work at the same time. So
that's a lot for anyone.
Yeah, I was running on not too much sleep, but Mountain Dew for me is a godsend. So I know
long drives. And I would never drink Mountain Dew in my normal life, but if I have a long trip, I'm like, oh, the Mountain Dew.
Oh, you're a Mountain Dew girl too?
For long drives, yeah, I always have been since I was a kid.
Oh, cool. Hey, blue shirt, Mountain Dew. Who would have known, right? Yeah, for sure. So we were also talking about, we find opportunities to be insightful and reflective. So maybe we could catch a couple of not only lessons learned, but also some fast tips maybe for other people that are kind of hovering or debating around, should I unplug for a while? What are the benefits? What are the, maybe talk a little bit about your experience in that.
Sure, definitely. I think it's such an important thing to do for all of us. And it's also important to acknowledge there can be different phases of like decluttering or unplugging for people. So maybe, going out into the wilderness for 10 days isn't your thing. Maybe that's just not something you want to do. And that's fine. And maybe, like we just said, Bruce in the car for his long drives, even after this stressful, high-paced move, like that's a form of decompressing. But it's so essential for all of us, and really for our nervous systems, because that's a lot of the work that I do is with the nervous system to come down and have those opportunities for settling. And that's how our biology works. So if we can find those little moments in our day, and bigger moments maybe in our life, but maybe that means you take a walk at lunch without your phone, right? Or something like that. You come home and turn off all the electronics and spend an hour with your kids or your partner or your roommate, whoever. And that's just the intent is just to not have that constant inundation. So you can be really creative with it and experiment and find things that work for you.
Right. Well, it's interesting because in this Airbnb, the actual patio is as large as the Airbnb, and I haven't had, and it's walled as well. So it's semi-private. So what I found a blessing and something I hadn't anticipated is I missed that kind of I'll just sit in the patio after my day or before I go to sleep and just, I love that settling idea. So I love hot tea. So I make myself a cup of hot tea, and I found my favorite English cookies, which I dunk in the hot tea. So not probably nice. The best. Yeah, but it's been amazing. I found that I've had more opportunity to kind of do that settling, and I don't know, it's almost like it finishes that day or that chapter of your part of the week, and then in the morning I'm like fired up, ready to go again. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. And really, again, if we think about it neurologically, it helps to complete those cycles because we have, our system goes through cycles. And I've noticed the same thing since I came back. I really was not enthusiastic to come back to my business and work, and I love what I do. I just also really love being in the woods, and I like that quiet and away time. But it's been such a great week. I had a wonderful call on Tuesday with the new coach that I'm working with, and it was just so fun and really helped to kind of set me in a new direction. And I did a B&I meeting Wednesday, which was just interesting and neat. And then today I was a part of this panel. So I do, just like you wake up the next day, it's kind of, I feel like there's a lot of fresh energy in me for my work and for my business. And I don't think I would have gotten that without the complete, let's just not think about this for 10 days.
Well, you said a key word there, woods. So I'm going to give a shout out to a guy called 𒒂💏💂💂💂💂💂💂💂💂💂 𒒂💂💂💂💂 lives up in Vermont. So if you ever want to go to Vermont, I can introduce you. And Thane's backyard is a wood, and he does some chit chats, and he calls them wisdom from the woods. So I've been giving him a hard time recently because he's not been doing those because of his busy schedule. So I said, hey, Thane, everybody loves his wisdom from the woods, and he's got the hashtag wisdom from the woods. So if he hears this, well, I'll make sure I send him the link to the recording, and maybe we'll re-energize him. And if you ever are in Vermont and you love to walk, he loves to do the same. So I'm sure it would be a great connection for you. So
it's beautiful country up there. A lot of mud in Vermont. I was looking at the long trail before this hike, and that's what everyone says. They're like, the Vermud. It's even the people writing about how great the long trail is. They're like, be ready for mud. I was like, okay. Right.
Well,
but it's beautiful.
That's true. I've seen Thane do some of his like stream and river walks when particularly from the snow and ice melt, and it was super muddy. I'd never thought about it that way. So yeah. So
I think they actually closed the trail for a month, or maybe a month. I might be wrong about this. Don't quote me. But they closed the long trail for a period of time because it's so muddy. They don't want to do damage to the trail, so they ask people just simply to not use it.
So will that unsettle the root system for the new growth of plants if people tread all over it and move it all around?
I mean, I don't know. I would imagine that's part of it, and just it'll kind of, I think, disrupt everything around the trail, because people, when it gets muddy on the trail, people start making their own trails.
They go off track. Okay, yeah, and trample maybe fresh growth and spring growth, or early summer growth, or whatever. So yeah, cool. So what were some of the other reflections from? It's awesome that you've done the simpler, faster, better. I'm proud of you. So I love that you're a product of something that I'm very passionate about. So good for you. So
yeah, definitely. And I think another thing was just to you can really see the burn damage out there. I was just looking at a video right when we first came on that I took when I was out there of this whole burn section. And I don't know if that's like a particular insight that came to me, but it really does like bring you to the result of these big fires that California has. You actually see like these, beautiful forests are just not there anymore. And it's, it feels very sad. Yeah. But it's good. I think that connection and actually seeing it, I wish more people could, because then I think we start to understand that it's not just, this thing that's happening over there. This is like pretty significant damage that's happening to our forests that, obviously we all need, forests to produce oxygen and maintain our lifestyle. So I hadn't seen a burn area of quite that extent before. Right. So it definitely stuck with me.
Yeah, I saw not necessarily here in California, but it was those kind of moments in your life where you remember seeing it either all green or mixed habitation. And I went back to a different burner, and it's like everything was gone, everything was decimated, and it was like what a shame. The whole ecology is like flattened, literally,
Yeah, it is. And even though there's like the new growth coming, it's not the same. There's no shade, and the root systems aren't the same. And yeah, it's definitely sad.
Takes time. Actually, it's a good tie back to what PowerNot are doing, because I know, with methane gas reduction, it actually helps the balance between the number of trees we need and actually the overall reduction of the greenhouse effect. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So
it's a great segue.
If we don't have as many trees, then we have to figure out how to reduce the overall methane concentration in some other ways, right? So
yeah.
And I never realized that our food waste that goes into predominantly a dumpster, which goes into a landfill, makes so much methane gas. It's unbelievable. It's actually a higher amount than all of the total aviation fuel burned on the planet.
That's wild. Wow, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's an incredibly high percentage. It's kind of one of those silent numbers that nobody pays any attention to until you need to change it, right?
Yeah. I'm glad they're paying attention and they've created a product that can fix the problem or help.
Right. Well, I think California is going to introduce some of the eastern states, particularly New York City and some of the New Jersey areas. They've started to mandate and enforce the guidelines now with some pretty tough penalties. So
good.
So yeah, I think that's going to be coming. My understanding is it's going to be looked at in early 2022, and there'll be guidelines around how much food we can put in the dumpster system that gets taken away to a landfill. So
wow,
it's coming, whether we like it or not.
Start composting now.
Yeah. or try not to waste as much in the first place, right?
Then there's that. Yeah, absolutely. Buy what you can eat and eat what you buy.
So the other thing, back to your backpacking, is I have a tiny little refrigerator, and what I found is, even though it's kind of frustrating, I have to go buy something every day. What I'm finding though is I'm not overbuying. So that overproduction or that overzealousness, because I think, oh, I have a tiny little refrigerator. I can only store like 1 day's worth of fresh food for me, and so even though I'm going out more to buy more, it's actually net. I'm actually living, a lot more simply on less stuff. So I have less clutter and I have less variation. I have less choice, but it's just easier. It's
easier. Yeah.
Way much easier, right?
I think it's great to have choice and to be able to know from deep inside, like, what our preferences and our choices are. But we have there's so many choices. It is really nice to, and I think that's one of the beauties of backpacking. And I ask this question to other hikers all the time. And I asked my friend, and he still has not gotten back to me. But I love this topic of, why are we out here carrying all this heavy crap, trudging up these mountains when we don't have to be? We have, nice homes and all of that. And I think there's something in that of the simplicity. All I have to do is wake up, pack up my stuff, heat up my water, eat my breakfast, and go north or go, follow this trail, whatever it is. And I think it leaves your brain and your being open to just everything else, which is, it's nice. It's lovely.
Right. So I think without knowing, we cut off the opportunity to immerse ourselves and really soak up the natural energy that's around us, right? And people think, I know people think, energy is kind of wooey or woo-woo, and like, what's that guy talking about? But I'm a big believer in following, energy paths and picking up on energy. And it's funny, when it's almost like the more stuff you have, the more you get, the natural energy gets absorbed by the stuff and doesn't leave as much for you to absorb. So the less you have, you seem to pick up on more, or that I do anyway. So
yeah, it's like more freedom. I think after a while we start being owned by our things versus owning our things.
Oh, I love that. That is the fast tip of the day. All right.
Good.
I knew it would come. I knew if we kept chatting around your favorite subjects. So yeah, let's do that as a fast tip. So one of the benefits or a fast tip of decluttering is
after a while your stuff begins to own you rather than you owning your stuff.
Oh, okay. And also the choices are nice to have, but they're maybe not essential all the time, right?
We probably don't need so many choices.
I know. It's funny because when I think back to, I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks or so ago, and they said, well, how did you get here? And I said, on an airplane, just to be a smart ass. But, but I arrived in 1994 in St. Louis, and the first time I went to a grocery store here in the USA, it was like so overwhelming. I mean, there were like 20 plus brands of bread. And, from the place I came from, a little corner store in a 50,000 person town, you had two choices of bread, not. So I was blown away. And, I'd go and look at orange juice, right? We used to get one or two choices of orange juice. I mean, if you go down the cold drink aisle and look at how many choices of orange juice alone we have, it's like, really? I mean, how do you choose?
Yeah, and it will paralyze people. And it's so funny. I have a friend visiting now, and she moved down to Cabo a few years ago, and she lives in a quiet part of town.
Sure.
And I just picked her up from the airport yesterday, and she, took my car and went out today to get do errands and things you can't get down there. And she came back in and she's like, I am not ready to move back to the United States. And she was saying kind of the same thing. There's less choices, there's less consumerism, less traffic even. And it's that more simple, slower. She said it forces you to slow down because things move slower there.
Yeah. Well, and slowing down doesn't always mean that you're going to slow down on the results either. Sometimes you have to slow down to go faster, right?
Exactly. And there's research done that meditation actually increases productivity, a large body of research. It's not like one study, it's a lot. So I think that's a good indicator for all of us that even if we're not, sitting down doing traditional meditation, but if we're just taking time to be still throughout our days and throughout our lives, I think we end up more productive.
Yeah, it's funny, even though I have simpler, faster, better in my methodology, that's just my terminology for it. I often help people realize that you have to actually slow down to fix things before you can actually make them go faster and more effectively. So being able to step back and slow down and take a real look at what's happening is pretty key.
It helps. It helps a ton. And I'll speak to it even in this past week. I just received, I'm hiring an assistant for a very specific thing. And I got all these resumes and wonderful people. And I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought to do that, to look for this specific thing that it's going to be something I really enjoy. It's really going to be fun. Awesome. And, great for my business. So again, I think that wouldn't have happened if the slowing down period didn't occur.
Yeah, slow down, kind of replant your feet in the ground, get your balance back, and then off you go again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great. I wish we promoted that more in society. Like rest is essential. We should all do it.
Yeah. Hey, you should have had your friend on. She could have talked to us about the choice story.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I think we had a glitch for a second.
Yeah, it stopped. We should have had your friend on. She could have talked about the choice story that you
I was just thinking that. And I think she walked down to go to a little local dog shop because they don't have the same kind of supplies for dogs down there.
Right. Okay.
Well, I'll have to introduce you to her on LinkedIn. She's wonderful. She's a lovely person. And you guys would like each other.
Yeah, because, the more I get accustomed to this semi-nomadic, digital nomadic life, it gives me longer term choices on where I can go or where I can end up, probably,
Definitely. I think that's an exciting place to be in.
Yeah, it's you can either embrace the fear or you can embrace the excitement. And I've embraced both on different days.
Yeah, different moments.
Yeah, I've had my moments, that's for sure. It's been those memorable moments like, oh, Lordy, what am I doing here?
Yep. And she'd be a great person to talk to because she sold her house, sold all of her things, traveled around Europe for a while. And then, now she's doing her own business and lives in Cabo. And
oh, cool. What does she do?
Pays less rent. She's a bookkeeper.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the need for keeping track of money never goes away. So one of those renewable skills that keeps going around and around.
Definitely.
Sure. All right. So what have you got coming up? Time for Dr. Alice. Shameless plug here, Dr. Alice.
Sure. So I did this panel I was on today was through Somatic Experiencing International. And that will be up on their YouTube channel. And it was about healing trauma through purposeful healing of trauma through fitness and how to fitness and trauma relate to each other. And it was really wonderful. There was myself and two other panelists. So that'll be available on YouTube. I am accepting new clients for September. So I usually only work with a handful of one-to-one clients at a time. Right. But after this break, it's kind of time for a few more. So if you're interested in one-to-one work, check out my website, Kirby Method Consulting. I work with trauma. I work with the nervous system, healing chronic stress, being able to take those moments and really helping people to be able to do that on a system-wide level is work that I'm so passionate about because it's really changed my own life. So
right.
Yeah.
So will that be on your YouTube channel or the panels?
It'll be through Somatic Experiencing International because they're much bigger. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Somatic.
Oh, somatic. Okay.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's the institute where I've done all of my training in trauma therapy. So it's a wonderful institute that's dedicated to helping the world really heal from trauma.
Awesome. And thank you everyone that was on. I'm not dropping off quite yet, but thank you for everyone that's been commenting and everything. I got so in the moment with Dr. Alice here that I've missed looking at all the comments going by. So I apologize. I will go back and answer or contribute. And I know Dr. Alice does the same too. So yeah, if you're seeing this either still live, you have a question, you can pop it in the comments, and I know they will get answered afterwards. If you're seeing this as a replay, you can do the same with #replay. We would love to answer anything, or if you don't agree with what we said, then have at it. You know, we like controversial conversation. That's okay too. Just don't beat us up too much, right?
Or at all. It could just be nicely controversial. Is that a thing? Kindly controversial. That could be another fast tip.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, fast tip. Yeah, if you've got something to say, do it with kindness. And controversial maybe could be spelled with a K in that place.
There we go. I think we just invented a new brand name. We could have hats.
Ooh, maybe a new hashtag.
It'd be great for the next election time.
Oh my God, that wouldn't it be just, right?
Yeah, it'd be a good reminder for people.
Yeah, that could be a new hashtag, you know. Kindly controversial.
I like it.
Yeah, it could either be spelled with a K and a K or a C and a C, you know, play on words, right?
Alliterate it.
Love to play on alliterated words for sure. All right.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Thanks everyone who was on live or watching the replay. It's always fun to come on and speak with Bruce. Yeah, and Mr. Savor the Flavor, you know Kenneth Dunner, I'm sure, he's a very active engager on all of our posts. So thanks, Kenny, for being on. And he's an awesome analyst and researcher, and also he does all sorts of things, but highly supportive. That's the main thing. So it's wonderful. All right. Well, if you'd like to just hang for a minute, and thanks again. Fabulous Friday, Super Saturday if you're in the pack rim, and watch out for Dr. Alice, because here she comes. Bye. Bye.